There it is.
Look at that.
Oh man, that's the first time. Oh, there we go. That's the first time I'm seeing that logo on there. Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of Mornings with the Outlaw. This morning, let me get on the new. Where is it? Where is it? Sorry about that. There we go. There we go. Hi, everybody. Happy Tuesday morning. Welcome to a brand new episode of Mornings with the Outlaw. Just playing around with a new logo, new video that Brian Ward made for us. I am the Outlaw, John Roca, joining you as always. And of course, right next to me there, we're coming from St. Louis, Missouri. It is Alex Shashek. How are you, Alex?
I'm dang spiffy and dapper. Absolutely. I'm excited to talk about some news and some new stuff. I've been marathoning horror thrillers consistently. In the past 2 or 3 days. I've watched 10 horror movies.
Wow.
It's been intense.
Do you have a competition coming up, or do you have? So are you managing a team? Is it?
Well, my faction has been one of my two people in my faction. Actually, they're going head to head against two other competitors.
Nice.
For horror movies, and I'm like, honestly, I don't know that many horror movies, so I figure I should just go out and watch some, and then I watched the entire Rings franchise. I watched Dr. Sleep for the first time last night.
All right.
I was surprised by how much I thoroughly loved that one. I watched The Apostle, The Ritual.
Wow.
There's a lot.
You're shoving in a lot of horror there. That's a lot to go through for sure.
There's a lot of question writing. I like question writing though,
Oh, right on. Oh, so you're writing questions for the competition, or are you starting to submit stuff for the showdown itself?
Oh, no. When I do training sessions, I literally write anywhere between 20 to 30 questions in a day on any given genre. So I feel like rom-com, 70s, Clint Eastwood, whatever it may be, just whatever I feel like writing that time. I have a whole files and everything, and just depending on, because we, as my faction, there's about 6 of us, and we train once a week, and we just kind of go over anywhere between 200 to 300 questions.
Right.
Depending on what we're kind of working on that week.
Fascinating.
So, a lot of stuff, a lot of training, a lot of active efforts. So. All
right. No, respect to you. Some of you all noticed that we didn't have a show yesterday, and I apologize for not having a show on Friday. I was getting ready for the match with Ethan, and all the prep that happened, I came real close, real close, the closest I've ever come to beating him, and unfortunately, couldn't get it, and that's just how it goes. But it also got me thinking over the weekend about adjusting the days for the show. I feel like I've been kind of overwhelming myself on Mondays and Fridays with all the stuff I've got scheduled. And so I asked Alex if she wouldn't mind if we moved to Tuesdays and Thursdays. She said her schedule is free to do so. So going forward, from now on, the show will be on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think it's great because it gives us time like Fridays, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday to accrue stories, to have a really good show today. And then, always stuff's always breaking on Tuesdays and Wednesdays in the middle of the week to jump into a Thursday show as well. So all of that is the reason why we moved it. I'm trying to make the show, catch some life, get some spark. We got almost 4,000 views on the last episode we did of Mornings with the Outlaw, which was really great. Unfortunately, though, the Streamlabs, Super Chats, the things that keep us alive here in the Outlaw Nation, they have been coming in at the level that I need them to come in to keep doing this show. So you guys I'm way open to suggestions. If you're subscribed to the Outlaw Nation channel down below, if you hit that subscribe button in the community tab later on today, I'm going to put a post up there asking you all to contribute some ideas to liven up mornings. Alex and I have certainly talked about it. There's a segment we're kicking around about adding to the show as well. But we'd love to hear your points of views and your thoughts on it as well. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, do so now down below, and you'll get to, chime in, and maybe we'll take some of your ideas and incorporate it into the show. Just trying to spark a little more reaction financially from you all to keep us going with the show. If not, we'll have to make some changes and some adjustments going forward. I love doing the show with Alex for sure, but it's got to make sense. It's got to make dollars to make sense. here in the real world. So that's how things go on here. Larry Lee sent in really nice. He said, greetings to you both. I'm back working on Monday. Well, congratulations, Larry. That's awesome. That's very, very good. A lot of people are slowly kind of moving their way back into situations. So we shall see going forward. And thanks to everybody who sent the best wishes for my food poisoning day on Sunday, which was hell on earth. Alex, I don't know if you ever had food poisoning, but it was hell on earth, girl. It is no joke. So
I will take your word for it. I've never had any issues with food poisoning or anything along those lines, but I think my grandma kind of like beat it into me when I was younger with food. I'm Thai. I grew up in a Thai household, so a lot of the food I grew up with can sometimes be questionable. I'm not gonna lie. So a lot of
too raw. I respect that.
A lot of experimentation. So a lot of the stuff, I feel for you though. Oh my gosh, it can be rough. That's for dang sure.
It was rough. If nothing else, it was rough. But thank God my girlfriend got me in to go to the doctor. I think to urgent care, they gave me an antibiotic, and that completely, like within a few hours, I was feeling a lot better. So thank God for her, because I did not want to go. I was dead on the couch and did not want to go. Anyway, let's jump into some news here today. We're going to talk about a bunch of subjects, get into some deep stuff. As I just said, the Streamlabs and the Super Chats are open, so send away. We've got about 80 y'all watching us right now live. I'm sure that number is going to increase. So, make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you remind other people in the chat to hit that like button as well to keep us going. Want to break that 200 likes before the end of the show, or get as close to it as we can as we go forward. All right, our first thing, Alex. Oh, yeah, and then later on in the show, we're going to announce the new show coming to the Outlaw Nation. I'm excited to announce it as well. I think you guys are going to really dig it, and we'll drop that a little bit later on in the show. But first, let's jump into our first story here, Alex. There's a lot that's been going on while we take a few days off here, but certainly something that's more current that's been dropping is something happened with Dune. Dune has been something that's still on the schedule for this year, Alex. We've seen a lot of movies move. We've seen release dates get pushed. All of that happening here, sometimes a year out into 2021. But Dune is still sticking firm to its release date of December 18th. They haven't moved at all. And in a recent interview, the director, Denis Villeneuve, he gave it to IndieWire, this interview. He talked about how the COVID situation has really affected the way they approached shooting this movie and what their intention was going forward with this film and getting it prepared to be out on the date that they set out, with December 18th being that. He said in the interview, because they had, they kind of broke up Dune into two shoots, and they were just getting ready to get into the next round of filmmaking when COVID hit, and they had to halt production on everything. Denise said, "We were about to finish some shooting. The movie was like almost finished. Dune has been made in an unusual way, which is that we made the main shooting, and then I edited that part of the movie, and I was planning to go back to shoot some elements later because I wanted to readjust the movie. I needed time, and it's a luxury that I had before the pandemic. When the virus hit North America, as we're about to go back and do these elements. The impact was that it crushed my schedule right now. It will be a sprint to finish the movie on time right now. We were allowed to go back to shoot. We're going back to shoot those elements in a few weeks, the ones we were supposed to shoot earlier. It meant that I also had to finish some elements of the movie like VFX and the editing being in Montreal as my crew stayed in Los Angeles. He said he likes to supervise the VFX, and he finds it's kind of easy to do it from afar, but he found that the editing really requires one to be in the same room. I really miss not being in the same room with my editor." So, Alex, what are your thoughts on this? This was still scheduled for December 18th. The fact they're rushing it to finish. Does this seem like a futile effort and they're eventually going to push this movie anyway? Or will this be 2020's Tenet, and this will come out actually on time?
I feel so bad for Tenet. It's just it's so laughable at this point. Anyway, but just going back to this movie, I do think the release date is November, December, from what I remember.
Yeah, December 18th.
So that's a long way off. In theory.
Yes.
And things can change. I do think people I think the community surrounding theaters are going to change by then, ideally. And hopefully by then we're going to be comfortable enough to go to movie theaters, but also I like to think that people will be a little bit safer and be okay with going to theaters and everything. Like I said, here in St. Louis, I understand it's a very different community. Everyone's wearing masks and everything, so I'm comfortable going to a theater here. But obviously, when you're in a very different situation, like out in LA or Florida or whatever, very different situation. So I understand that doesn't apply. Even though it is very far off, I do think it is very doable. I am, oh my gosh, I'm clapping for Denis Villeneuve to get through this. Like, my dude. Is he actually like gonna be like the exclusive editor behind this movie? Or?
Well, I'm sure he's like he's one of these filmmakers that, like he said, he likes to be in the room, likes to be on top of it. So there is an editor, but he will be there with them working together. So the VFX things he doesn't have no problem doing it from afar, but it's wanting to be in the room with your editor that I think is getting on him right now, because he likes to put like most filmmakers, they like to have their hands on everything, most of the good ones.
I just noted, after watching Dr. Sleep last night, I didn't realize it, but Mike Flanagan, not only the director, but he's the only listed editor on that movie as well. Right. I didn't realize that. And so I was like, well done. Okay, I see you. So thinking about obviously the very different movies, I was kind of figuring, even though as big as a movie it is, I was like, could he technically be the only editor if he has this much time and wants to dedicate to it? So I mean, like, is that like the only thing he's going to be working on for the next month? Oh
yeah, I mean, because this is supposed to come out in two separate films. The first part of the first half of the book is one film. The second half of the book is another film. That's what we're looking at right now. Joe Walker is listed as the film editor for this particular movie, so maybe they're working together for this one. And he's done Arrival, Sicario, Widows, Blade Runner 2049. So a lot of the Denis Villeneuve films, certainly Widows is not one of them, but certainly that's he's done a few of them for Denis. So someone he probably relies on to work really well with. So certainly there is an editor on the film, but him being there is an essential part of him as a director and in the film process, it seems like. We
do need to also be, I don't want to say realistic. But I mean, we do, obviously. But at the same time, I mean, I do understand a lot of directors have different processes where some people work well under pressure. Some people have that creates the opposite effect. But I am kind of curious to see how this is going to translate. If he's like constantly thinking to himself, I'm on a time crunch. I need to whip this out, get it ready to go by then. And obviously, with it being a project as big as this, I wonder if that's really going to affect the quality of the movie as well. I hope not. I like to think optimistically, but I mean, man's only human.
You make a fantastic point, Alex. Will the rushing of this movie to get it done by December 18th, will this lead to an unfinished, not necessarily a fully finished product? Will they have to cut corners? Will they have to kind of compromise on his vision for the movie? And so in my mind, I'm like, well, if you're going to do that, you might as well wait till next year, because I don't think the normal conventions of movie going will apply to next year. I don't think releasing something in January is no longer considered, at least in 2021, a dumping ground, or February. Because if you think people are spending a crap ton of money on Christmas for presents, when people are on unemployment, people are losing jobs left and right, people are having trouble making ends meet, evictions, rent, what have you, and you think they're going to not have money for movies, that's not the same thing. I think if you drop a movie in January or February, the possibilities of it being way bigger than usual are there, because people are desperate to go back to a movie theater and be back and feel like it's somewhat normal again in our society. So I think if you pushed it a month or two, it wouldn't be a negative. And I think people would still consider it possibly for an Oscar situation. And maybe that's also in their minds too, Alex. There has been a lot of films have been released. If they start to like kind of only look at this year, or, like push things to, like they were saying, to the end of February, end of March, this film now becomes, if it's good, an odds-on favorite to win Best Picture, to win Best Director, something that Denis Villeneuve, I don't think he's ever been nominated for, and I don't think he's ever had a picture be nominated for Best Picture either, if I'm correct. So, which is a crime in my opinion. The greatest filmmakers ever. But yeah, that's the thing I think I think he's trying to push this thing back, don't you? Oh yeah, go ahead.
Well, I mean, like, are you serious? Well, thing is, okay, he has been nominated for Best Director for Arrival.
Oh, okay.
But that's it.
Fair enough.
But it just occurred to me, I'm like that. I mean, like I always like associate him with Oscars, but I understand realistically. I'm like, what? He's only been nominated the once for Best Oscar.
Yeah.
Best Director, and that just feels so wrong to me.
Yeah. Right.
Considering because regardless of how you feel about Blade Runner 2049, that movie is a marvel.
I agree.
That movie deserves all the love. And regardless, I don't want to compare it to like the first one or whatever. That's tomato. That's personal opinions. But that movie, Sicario, Arrival, Blade Runner, it's my gosh, he's going to be doing Cleopatra here pretty soon. So I'm really curious about that.
Yeah, it received 5 nominations. Blade Runner 2049 did for Oscars, including cinematography and best visual effects. Right about Arrival, it was nominated for Best Picture. He was nominated for Best Director, Best Cinematography, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Sound Editing. So little by little, he's getting into the Academy. Sicario was also nominated for 3 Academy Awards, Best Cinematography, Best Original Score, and Best Sound Editing for sure. So this thing, he's such a phenomenal filmmaker, and he's such an expansive filmmaker. You want to see more from him. You want to see what he can do. Maybe he's got to direct this insane opus for the Academy to kind of open their eyes about his abilities. You know, the stuff he's done, you know, Sicario could be discounted as just a, like a thriller action adventure film about the drug war, but that's way deeper than that, way more complex than that. Prisoners, a standard kidnapping thriller film, way more deeper and complex than that. Arrival finally got a little bit of recognition. Blade Runner 2049, same thing. Yes, a sequel to Blade Runner, but it's a more contemplative, meditative, reflective approach to the idea of what we hold on to about what is real and what isn't real, about the memories we create, about the stories we tell ourselves, and how that impacts who we are as a human being and how we live our lives. So there's so much to explore in these movies that Villeneuve is doing that it has been a crime to not see the Academy nominate him for Best Director almost every year he drops a film. He's just that good.
Yeah, he's definitely one of those few names. Like, I can talk to my mom about Denis Villeneuve, and she doesn't know movies and directors or all that much. But if I mention Arrival or Blade Runner, she's like, "Hey, I know that guy," the one I can barely pronounce. And so I'm like, so to me, like, if I can talk to my parents about directors like that, then I know it's pretty darn awesome. You know, because we can talk all day about how, you know, great people like Mike Flanagan and all these also directors and everything are, but realistically, they're not considered like name brand directors. They're not Del Toros, they're not Spielbergs or anything, obviously. It's like nearly impossible to get to that kind of level, you know, without, you know, some major epics. And honestly, I feel like Villeneuve's, you know, movies, I feel like they are definitely on that scale. Now, you know, speaking of which, now this is a movie that I really want to see this movie. And it's based off such a huge, well-known world, obviously, the Dune. Just Dune. And I would love to see this in a theater. However, it's also a movie where I'm like, you know what? I would gladly pay like $30 to see it at home.
I think people would.
I don't want to make that decision, but you know, I would. Just a few months ago, I also said, Wonder Woman, I'll wait 2 years. I need to see that in theaters. It's kind of creeping up on me now. I'm like, I don't want to wait. How much longer do I have to wait? I mean, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But yeah, so, you know, December is not too far off. Obviously, I would be sad if they extended it unnecessarily. So I'm not going to tell like a studio, do better and like push it up to October or something. That's not going to happen. But I just really want to see it like right now.
Don't disagree with you.
Can I just get an advance notice, Denny? Can we have that relationship? Is that okay?
That'd be nice. Andrew Hale says Dune trailer is rumored to debut alongside the Inception re-release this month. I just want to see the trailer. I've waited too long for this. Totally respect that. Andrew Hale. a big supporter of the Outlaw Nation and helper on the Outlaw Nation Patreon. Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely a valid thing. A lot of people are desperate to see this trailer, get excited to see this thing. They know it's not going to be the David Lynch version of Dune. This is going to be a little more faithful, yet its own thing to the original source. And so that's a positive situation overall. But yeah, maybe it will come out with that Inception re-release coming up later this month. We will see. We've seen Inception get re-released, I think, over the weekend in China. So it did well, apparently. So that is certainly a possibility to attach that trailer. We have 2 Streamlabs that came through here. One from Ben Rayner. Thank you, Ben. Very kind of you. He says, hi, Rocha and Alex. Hope you both having a good day so far. Rocha, I just became a patron of yours on the Logan level. Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate that. I am not shocked Dune might be delayed because they lost like 5 months. I would imagine other movies will get delayed too. Yeah, absolutely. That's certainly in the process. Don't you think, Alex?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's sad but true. It's very necessary. I would rather have this. Sorry, you see a fly go around. I'd rather they be in a situation where they delay and everything rather than out of nowhere. It's, we get news saying that like a whole bunch of people from the setting from making this movie have been revealed to have like COVID or anything along this line. Obviously, I would, if that anything were that, or other movies as well, I would rather be like, you know what, let's play it safe and just not do it. Right. So when it comes to making a lot of these movies, especially a huge epic like this, so much people are actively on set.
Right.
It's bonkers. It's not just the actors and, handful of PAs, directors and everything. There's maybe 150 people, sometimes 200 people actively on the set at any given time.
Well, and you have to factor in schedules here. Yes. I think with the production team, you'll lose some production team. I think you can replace this a little bit easier than actors like Rebecca Ferguson, Zendaya, Jason Momoa, Timothée Chalamet, Dave Bautista, Josh Brolin, Oscar Isaac, Stellan Skarsgård, Javier Bardem. These are just top of the line A-list actors, international actors who are constantly in demand for projects. And yes, it's unusual because everything's been put on hold. So all these schedules are having to be redone and rejiggered to make sense or to work with what they're trying to do. So, trying to get all the actors back on set to do these scenes must be a hell of a thing and a hell of a chore for the production team to figure out and put together with their with the actors' representation and make sure they're on set to do these scenes. Because, Alex, the worst thing that can happen is you've got these great scenes laid out and you can't get the actors back in time to shoot them, or there's cost delays, or there's production delays, and then you've got to cut this scene that could be an integral part of the movie that could make the difference between your movie being great and just good. Those kinds of things are what you factor in, or what you run into when you're looking at a movie like this. We're doing this pretty incredible thing for the Cinephiles. We're on our 200th episode. We're doing a documentary. We're interviewing a bunch of people who've been guests on the show before. We're interviewing each other. We're interviewing our friends and family about the show. And one of the people we interviewed recently is Sasha Pearl Raver, who was such a great, essential part of the show when she was on as a guest for 2 episodes. And she's recently now been working on something herself. And she said, as a director, it is mind-blowing to understand what it's like to direct a film or direct a project, how every little thing completely depends on your decision. You can't pawn off these decisions on anyone else. And so you've got to take responsibility. And it gives you a whole new perspective of what it's like to be a director, and a whole new perspective on movies and either good or badly directed films, what the director has to go through. And the thing she said is what a lot of people say: it's a miracle a film even gets done. And you look at this situation like COVID, Alex, this is such an extreme situation. The idea of a worldwide pandemic causing, and who factors that into their production schedule, Alex? It's mind-blowing.
Insurance companies, that's who.
I don't even think they do.
Yeah, it is absolutely a miracle. I am in awe of directors, everything they do. It's amazing. Not only every single decision, but also studios. Studios, love them or hate them. Their involvement is involved, pretty drastically. For obviously film to film. Obviously I don't know a studio's involvement in Dune. But obviously if we're going to be talking about Ninja Turtles or something like that, the studio is going to have a lot of them say.
Yeah.
They're like, how much merchandising can we base off this? That's a conversation.
Yeah. Where's our money? Yeah, exactly.
So that's one to consider. But yeah, so going into the future, I am kind of curious of how, movies and directing in general is really going to be moving forward for a lot of bigger productions. Obviously directing a documentary or something like a small little indie film where it's just like you and not even 10 people. It's a very different conversation versus these 200 people productions.
Yeah. Fair point. We've got a couple of Streamlabs or a few Streamlabs that roll through here. Let's keep going through them real quick before we jump into our next subject. Andrew G said, I think some theaters are opening up here in Ontario, Canada. Nothing new to see, obviously, but it seems like they have the whole row. They have whole rows blocked off and seats blocked off in rows, leaving only so many actually available for guests to socially distance. Oh, I think that's great. I think that's a way you do it. Look, people are going out to open air restaurants. I mean, I certainly went out to one this weekend, which is probably how I got food poisoning, but they've got a lot of distance in between the tables. So I think even in an enclosed space, if people are adhering to the rules and they're wearing their masks, and look, you can hear people cough a few rows away or whatever, just immediately put up your mask for a little bit and then put it back down again after it's dissipated. I think that's a smart way to go about this. What do you think? Would you be more comfortable in a theater that's blocking off rows and blocking off a bunch of seats in between you and the next person?
Blocking off seats, between like me and like other people, sure. As far as blocking an entire row, I'm not really like sure how that would happen, just because that means like not even 30 people per theater. And so how much are the tickets?
I don't know. Yeah, maybe
like $50 per ticket. Like,
how much are the tickets, Andrew? Let us know. Let me know in the chat how much are the tickets.
Obviously, Canada's a different country, and it's different, place to place and everything. But I do understand theaters have to make drastic changes in order to entice people to come back to it. Last time I went to a theater, Lucas and I were the only people in the theater, and and we still had our masks on, obviously. So I'm comfortable going to a theater. But honestly, I would never in a million years go to a theater that I know where a lot of people are going to be going to. So
there you go. Tickets in Ontario are $5. That makes sense. Is that for $5 Canadian or $5 American dollars? Let us know. And Andrew G also,
that's not okay. So I think as far as I've been told, Canadian dollars, so that's almost like $6.50 or $7 in American dollars, from what I remember.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Could be wrong there.
Andrew G also chimed in and said, I've been back in the gym all weekend. Lots of cleaning procedures and social distancing. Not a lot of people in there. It's great. The whole place to myself. So, there you go. We'll see. Oh, yeah. And then he also chimes in to Sinfinity. He goes, 5? Where are you going? So there we go. So maybe these two Canadians can have it out or in the chat over the actual price of these tickets. All right, let's move on to our next Streamlab. It's from D-Train. Thank you, D-Train. Thoughts on Dr. Sleep? It was my favorite movie that came out last year. I honestly believe it's also one of the best sequels of all time. Alex?
Wow. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have thoughts. Okay, so I'm not going to go into like a full 20-minute review because I definitely can. I loved it. There's a lot I really, really enjoyed about it. I have not read the book, so keep that in mind. I'm going into it completely fresh. I do really enjoy The Shining. I don't love The Shining, but I really enjoy, for a lot of the visuals and, really cool. There are some problems I kind of have with it. I love Rose the Hat. I love the True Knot. I think that they're such cool, interesting villains. Yeah. It's kind of weird to me that, they're these ancient beings, essentially. It's not immortal, but long-lasting Wolverine type beings, pretty much. And they're like, we're gonna the steam. We're just keeping these little metal canisters in a fridge. It just seemed a little weird. I guess the visual kind of caught me off guard. And it was also kind of really weird to see that, as amazing and as much as I love Rose the Hat, oh my gosh, I want an anthology series, like a horror anthology series based off her character and her rise in the group. I would love that. How awesome would that be with Rebecca Ferguson? She's amazing in everything though.
Rose the Hat, yeah.
it was I loved everything with Dana Torrance. I loved everything with Abra. I thought she was fantastic. Like I haven't seen her in anything before. She was wonderful, but it kind of really made me curious. There's no points where I was like, realistically, I understand Abra considering everything that her whole situation. I never felt like she was in true danger, if that makes sense.
Right.
Considering, because her powers always outweighed Rose's, essentially. Every time they went head to head, and I thought when they did go to head in like the maze and and the whole thing, finally the libraries, everything was really cool. But at the same time, she always bested her. Yeah. So I never felt like Rose was a real threat as a result.
Okay. All right.
So
yeah, that tends to happen in Stephen King films. Like they took care of the clown a lot easier than I anticipated. There was a lot of buildup, and then they finally took care of it. So yeah, it's not as strong as you would like it to see, for sure. I will watch it sometime this week. I've never seen it, so I will definitely watch it this week. I was deathly afraid there was going to be a question on it during the match with Ethan, but there wasn't, thank God. All right, Jay Scotty, because it's on HBO right now, so I definitely want to watch it. Jay Scotty for real also donated. He said, on the subject of Dune, let's talk Rebecca Ferguson. Well, speaking of Rose the Hat, she first captured my attention with her portrayal of Ilsa Faust in Rogue Nation. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm worried about the character's longevity given Haley Atwell's involvement in future installments. Is that warranted? Well, I feel like, because I recently watched again Rogue. What's the last one? Fallout. I recently watched Fallout, and Fallout kind of ties everything together. We finish off the Monahan storyline from Mission Impossible 3. We kind of bring Rebecca back. There's that moment where she strokes Tom Cruise's face, Ethan Hunt's face, and you think, well, is this a new romance for him? Possibly. We don't know. So you have to bring in someone like Haley Atwell, because to be honest with you, Rebecca Ferguson is in a bit more demand than Haley Atwell is. So you've got to have someone that's going to kind of be available for future installments. We'll see. And Rebecca's MI5, so she's part of that. Now she's back into MI5 after Fallout. So how much will she really be available to be in a relationship with Tom Cruise's character, with Ethan Hunt? So you have to bring in someone else. So Haley Atwell is a good choice, I think. I love her as an actress. And of course, she's fantastic as Agent Carter, Peggy Carter. So there you go.
Yeah, I also think I love Rebecca Ferguson. I think she's amazing. She honestly, watching Fallout and Rogue Nation, she's my favorite part.
Yeah.
I also think I don't want to say it's a pride issue, but I honestly I'm kind of curious to see if Tom Cruise might have been like, she's getting a little too big. You feel me? She's getting a little too popular. She's a little too well loved.
Alex, how dare you?
My life. What are you saying? He has this weird image of himself.
That's
crazy.
Tommy Cruise you're talking about.
I love Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise. Top Gun. It's a father-daughter movie in my household. I get it. I love Tom Cruise. It's not my favorite Tom Cruise movie, but that's another conversation for another day. Right. But yeah, so honestly, I do think she's definitely, she's in Dune. She's in a lot of upcoming really big movies. So I kind of wonder if, I don't want to say she's getting too big for the role, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Cruise was like, hey, I kind of want a smaller, lesser known actress to be my potential love interest. And therefore, I wouldn't have as much competition.
How dare you?
I'm sorry. I also just want to clarify. I do love Tom Cruise. I really do. I just want to point that out there. I do. But the man's going to space here pretty soon. So, there is a certain, there's a itty bitty ego.
Tommy is a big supporter of ladies, of women. How dare you? How dare you?
Ooh, that's sarcasm, right? That's sarcasm.
What? He's always acting with women in his films. What are you talking about? It's not like he doesn't, he doesn't support.
It's like, if he's acted with women, he's a clear, huge supporter of women, just like, Sean Connery's like a huge supporter of women because he's played opposite so many Bond girls in the Bond franchise, even though he's clearly on the record saying he has no regrets beating his wife.
That's a fair criticism.
Literally in interviews.
But Tom's never beat his wife. He never beat Nicole Kidman.
But there's been
or Katie Holmes
issues.
Yes, I don't disagree.
There's been suspicious there's been suspicious situations with Tom Cruise.
There have been rumors for sure.
Yes, there have been rumors, and who knows, maybe in 20 years we might find out something. Maybe we'll find out tomorrow. I don't know. I'm just saying the dude still has an ego. There's nothing wrong with that, considering he's one of the biggest, stars in the world. Absolutely. You can't get to that level without having an ego. All the props to him.
Of course. And I think she had, but the women in his films are rarely damsels in distress, and I think that's a positive thing. And if he wanted to turn them into damsels, which a lot of action heroes have done,
sure.
He didn't have to. Like Stallone did that all through his movies, sidelined his ladies or made them damsels in distress or made them women that didn't believe in him. So he had to fight through it, that kind of stuff. But look, Nicole Kidman in Days of Thunder, she's a doctor. Kelly McGillis in Top Gun, she is a superior to him in rank and status in that movie. You look at the Mission Impossible movies, right? Other than the first movie where the girl's a villain, almost every woman involved in the Mission Impossible movies has been able to fight her way out of a situation, or is an agent, or has shot her way, or she stands on her own. So all of that, I think it's rare when you see, even Night and Day, Cameron Diaz gets her moments to shine as a regular woman thrust into this situation.
Oh, I get it. I understand. It's also kind of, you have to remember, he's not the script writer, so he's not the one putting out the ideas. Hey, we should really lay out our character more effectively. We should make her into a full-blown character like me, because I'm Tom Cruise,
Yeah.
So, we just being, he's never ever in the future, as far as in the past 10 years, as far as I can remember, he has not been a side character.
Tom Cruise? No, nor should he be. Well, no, Magnolia, he was an ensemble
character. That was in the 90s.
That's true, in the 90s. And that was at that time when he was trying to
I get it.
that he was a real actor.
Doing The Firm a little bit after he did Collateral. Collateral was my favorite Tom Cruise movie.
That's a good movie.
But the point is that, it's... I'm sorry, my cats. I'm so sorry. It's obnoxious, my cat.
I think it's I love when your cats chime in.
My cat has a lot of opinions about Tom Cruise, guys.
I'm a big fan of cats. I love when your cats chime in. I'm a big fan of cats. Yeah. I like talking to cats.
I don't thing is, I don't really contribute to a lot of the, if we can talk about the feminism in his movies and everything, we can talk about the feminism. Well, thing is, it's just, I don't know how much of I
gotta get me a cat just so I can have this situation. Well,
it's so aggressive. He's in. Okay, I do want to point out okay. So I'm not locking him in the room. He just ate. He has a bowl of fresh water. He I do have him in another room of the house, so he doesn't claw at me actively, because he did that for a while. I just want to put it out there. I don't even lock him in the room.
I love it.
I make sure he has toys. No.
Look, fans are chiming in here, Alex. What's your thoughts? J. Scott Friel says Emily Blunt kind of overshadowed him in Edge of Tomorrow in terms of badassery, for sure. He was a side character in Tropic Thunder. But of course, that was right after that whole maniacal situation jumping on the couch with Oprah. So he was trying to kind of resuscitate his image, his PR image, his career. Yeah, so he took it, and he really did it. It was a fantastic role for him to take. He had a supporting role, Lions for Lambs, but Alex's point stands. You never seen Lions for Lambs?
No, I've never heard of it.
It's a political film with, I think, Robert Redford and I think Meryl Streep as well.
When was that released?
In the 2000s, maybe 2008, 2009, 2010, something like that. I'm not really good at release dates. Someone might know that. Leah Remini says, Cinema Gorilla says Leah Remini has a few details. Sure, but Leah as well. Leah can be listen, let's be real about this stuff with Leah too. The first season of the Scientology show, it was all about Leah. It isn't until the second season that she kind of took a step back and let it be about the people they were profiling, So obviously in the first season, Leah had some axes to grind against the Church of Scientology. And I totally respect that she wanted to do that. But I also think that, she's also a Hollywood actress. So she likes the spotlight on her too, just like Tom. And so there's I don't really take her criticisms as strongly as I would other people who've had interactions with Tom Cruise who weren't part of the Church of Scientology. I think that's more valid in my opinion. So anyway.
Okay. So I do want to mention, I've not seen that show, and
you would love that show, Alex. You would love that show.
I'm kind of iffy. It's like I don't know. It's just because it's such a weird world.
Yeah,
that whole thing is.
Have you watched the HBO documentary Going Clear?
No,
you should watch that. Try that, and if it feels interesting to you, then I think move on to the Leah Remini show. If you don't, if that's more than enough for you, then you can just stop there. But yeah.
You know what I would love to see to really challenge Tom Cruise? What if we had a Mission Impossible movie where Charlize Theron was in it?
Why not? I agree with
I would dare
him
cast an actress, Halle Berry, her, Charlize, anyone that could, with the potential, I don't want to say overshadow him, but kick his tuchus. Where, and also visually so. I don't want this whole nonsense kind of situation where it's like, thank you, dude. Where it's the situation is like, we're teammates, but low key I can still best her. No, I want a situation where you can go head to head against this lady, but in actuality, she can totally best you. I'd be kind of curious to see that, really happen, or if Tom Cruise would be like, no, but I'm the star of my own show. It's mine. It's my franchise. Oh my God. We're coming over to space.
I like this idea. Tom Cruise is Alex's cat. I like that. That's a maybe that's not a star role, so you could do that. All right. Let's move on before I get into too much. For the Scientologist Illuminati come after me. I don't want anything like that to happen at all.
It's the Shmomabooty.
I don't believe. No. There'll be none of that conversation.
It's not Shmominati. It's Shmomabooty. Just want to clarify.
Shmomabooty? All right. I'm cool with Shmomabooty, actually. I'm all right with Shmomabooty. All right, let's move on to our next subject. I can't believe we're already 45 minutes into the show. We're off the rails. But the next story rather is with Leonardo Dicaprio here. This is a big news item that dropped yesterday. He has signed a first look television deal through his production company Appian Way with Apple. Apple just quietly making these moves, these big blockbuster moves for themselves. A lot of people were complaining, they don't have new content. They don't have this or that. But Apple's just doing their thing because they've got a crap ton of money. So they don't have to adhere to anyone's preconceived schedule on how to do things and when to do things. They are playing things for the long game. And this multi-year deal will see Appian Way develop television projects for Apple. DiCaprio and Appian Way, which is co-written by Jennifer Davison as well, already have 2 projects set up there. The feature is Killers of the Flower Moon, which is, of course, directed by Martin Scorsese, and will have DiCaprio as a star, and that's being shot in Oklahoma. Shout out to Tushka Productions, as well as the thriller series Shining Girls, which will star Elizabeth Moss, and DiCaprio will executive produce. Now, the Appian Way has also produced a number of DiCaprio's films, including The Revenant, Wolf of Wall Street, The Aviator, Shutter Island. They've also done Out of the Furnace, The Ides of March, which is that great George Clooney political film. They've also done documentaries, Virunga, Cowspiracy, Sea of Shadows, which is one of my girlfriend's favorite documentaries, Ice on Fire, and We Go Green. As far as TV, they've also produced the history series Grant, which was an awesome series about Ulysses S. Grant, and they're currently developing The Right Stuff at Disney+. So this deal falls on the other deals that Apple has signed with Oprah Winfrey, Alfonso Cuarón, Julie Louis-Dreyfus, Justin Lin, Idris Elba, Carrie Aaron, Lee Eisenberg, Sharon Horgan, and Simon Kinberg. Plus, they have deals with A24, Sesame Workshop, and the Peanuts. And then they signed an overall deal with the Maurice Sendak Foundation, which will develop new projects based on Sendak's books and illustrations, including Where the Wild Things Are. Alex, is that one of the books you read as a kid growing up? Did you see that movie with James Gandolfini at all?
Where the Wild Things Are?
Yeah.
I actually saw that movie for the very first time maybe 2 weeks ago, I want to say. It was directed by Spike Jonze. Excuse me. Catherine Keener is involved, and Catherine O'Hara, as a whole bunch of people are involved in the movie. But SOB, I'm in. In the words of Rick and Morty, I'm totally into it. I'm totally in for it. I do think Apple, I'm really impressed with a lot of this behind the scenes talent that they've been involved with. I wouldn't be surprised if somehow Marco Robbie ended up popping in, being like the next big collaboration. Honestly, studio wise. So I mean, this sounds really great. A lot of awesome projects. They have a very great history of doing The Revenant, Aviator, a lot of really great projects. He has not only him involved with personally, but his production that he's been headlining with his studio partner. So this actually makes me curious, pretty excited, overall.
Okay, that's awesome. I think so too. I like the idea of DiCaprio being involved in this stuff, working with Apple, and doing these TV shows. He's always had a I don't know, a humanist point of view to the world, even before it was popular to do it nowadays and really be all about, figuring out the world. DiCaprio was always very aware of what was going on with with the climate crisis, global warming, with all the stuff that's happening in the world. He's very aware of it. He's obviously a naturalist, so he enjoys that too. So to me, I think this is a great way for Apple to keep expanding its brand and expanding what it can do, and so it isn't just the dramas that came out that didn't really hit that hard other than Morning Show. But they're about to do a bunch of comedies that they're going to drop here on Apple, animated stuff. And now going in with DiCaprio, this is a big name guy that they're getting involved in. This is also the kind of thing where DiCaprio, he can take his time about projects as well, yes. Alex, right? He just has this time, these years in between stuff where he can focus on other things and be inspired creatively in ways other than being in front of the camera. And you want to see that. I believe this, and I don't know if you feel this way too, Alex, but I think this is starting to happen more and more with all our entertainment, that our artists, athletes, people who entertain, period, in any format, are becoming more socially aware, more globally aware of these issues that are going on in the world, and understanding that they have a platform to legitimately make change, whether it's through a documentary or through speaking at the United Nations or visiting these countries to have meetings with these leaders, to have conversations with them. All of this is starting to kind of expand out. And I, for one, am really happy to see this happening. And I know it scares the other side because they legitimately have press and followings and what have you, where they can make change to stop these corporations and these companies that are abusing the earth or abusing people and highlighting it in a very powerful way.
Absolutely. It's also a PR thing. It's a huge PR thing. Okay. Yeah, I do agree. It's a there is so much power to change in so many great ways. And Leonardo DiCaprio is one of those very few people. He's been vocal about environmentalism, and climate change for decades. So this is not a new thing for him.
Right.
He's been
vocal
about. I remember him talking about it even when he did promo stuff for The Beach, directed by Danny Boyle, like way back in like the late 90s or whatever. But yeah, so it's been a very long time now. I do know like a lot more people are like going forward though. It's, it is almost kind of a PR thing. Now, I'm not going to say that, if you're doing a lot of this great stuff, I'm going to associate you with you just trying to look good for the public.
Right.
But, I wouldn't be surprised, to a certain extent, this, with the press tour, we're going to have you also not only do this, we're going to have you go on, check out these conservations and everything as well. And, we're going to have you, we're going to take some photos of you smelling some flowers or something. And, I do think it shines a light, on, things that definitely need, highlighted for sure, because they need so much more attention than they're given, unfortunately. And sometimes, you're not going to give that attention unless you have a celebrity attached, which is really unfortunate, but that's a whole other conversation. But, I do feel like to a certain extent, there is a lot of PR being attached to it as well, honestly. Just because I've heard behind the scenes, some of these people, they're doing it just because they're told to, not because they're not something they're passionate about or even knowledgeable about.
Well, I think DiCaprio is not one of those people in my personal
opinion. Everyone's different for sure.
I think there are exceptions to that. I agree with you, though. There are people who jump on the PR bandwagon as a kind of a whole strategy about how to be on a certain subject or certain point of view or certain cause. I don't disagree with you. The vapidity and the shallowness in this city, or in acting in general, or any kind of entertainment in general, is certainly still very much a big part or component of that situation. And so that's why you look for the ones that are authentic, and certainly DiCaprio feels that way. So who knows what he's going to produce TV wise, but I look forward to see what him and his production company will do for sure. Well, listen, we had another story to get to before the break, but I think we're at that point where we would take a break right now and kind of promote the things we got going on. Alex, please tell us what you got happening in your world.
Tonight, I am going to be doing a show on Cinema Bias. We're going to be diving into Akira. I still have to actually watch it today. It's so we're going to be diving into that movie tonight at 10 o'clock with Cinema Bias. And it's the show that Drew and I really host and really kind of dive into our personal biases, genres, directors, all that good stuff. Yeah. And, so it's going to be a real fun time. It's a very fresh perspective of both of us. I'm more of an anime fan than she is. Mm-hmm. But, this is actually a patron pick, so we're excited to dive into it. Next week, we're going to be diving into Uneducation, starring Carey Mulligan, so it's definitely a really great coming of age movie. Oh my gosh, that is such a coming of age movie. It's aggressive, and I actually had a fight with someone about that. They said it wasn't a coming of age, and I'm like, it's literally the definition of coming of age. But whatever, that's a whole other conversation. Right. But the show Tuesdays and Thursdays, I really kind of hope you guys really like our new schedule. I would really appreciate it. Oh my gosh, guys. Okay, so on Wednesday, tomorrow, I'm going to be hosting a dungeon-themed schmobate.
Uh-oh.
Between Eric Zepper and Robert Parker and Adam Witt as my co-host. It's going to be a fun time. So it's going to be starting tomorrow at 9:30 Central. So please come hang out watching the debate. We're also doing a whole new format with judges and everything. It's like a whole thing.
Nice. Yeah, it was fun being on last week, having Dwayne Burke and Eric Rodriguez, aka Nerd Chronic, go at it for a outlaw-themed schmobates. That was a lot of fun. Hearing two players go at it about the dungeon who are under the dungeon. Maybe that's the next thing we do once there is a new faction. Or a faction, or whatever. Never mind. Let's move on. Anyway, so in 2021, we'll see. Anyway, let's move on. So let me let you know, please subscribe to the channel down below. Also, for those of you who haven't hit the like button, hit the like button. We've barely crossed 100 likes. We got almost 200 of y'all watching us here live. So please hit that like button, give it some love, and enjoy our content. Show us that you enjoy what we're doing here on Mornings with the Outlaw. Thank you to everybody who's been sending in the Streamlabs and the Super Chats. Keep those coming. We got a certain goal we like to hit for every episode, so we'd appreciate it if you could do that and help us out as we're doing that. Wayne, another thing, later on tonight for the Outlaw Nation show, we've had to move the time to 8 o'clock tonight, and that's because this gentleman right here from the East Coast is coming back. Jeff Snyder is the first guest I've ever had back on the Outlaw Nation show. We got a lot of unfinished business, Jeff and I, to go over. He's going to talk about the Schmodown singles tournament. He's going to talk about what the future of movies and what he's hearing from the studios, from his inside sources about what's happening with a lot of these productions, a lot of your favorite movies that have been announced, stuff like that. Jeff's going to talk about it all. Plus, we're going to bust each other probably to the nth degree and have a little fun talking about that as well. That's a really big one that's coming up tonight. Of course, we announced already The Jedi Way, that new show with me and Laura Kelly. That will be premiering next Thursday. Next Thursday, Laura and I are probably going to get on a call sometime this week, figure out what we're going to talk about, but I'm looking forward to doing this Star Wars show with Laura Kelly. It's going to be so much fun, me and her going at it, and she was very gracious to come on the show, Outlaw Nation show, last week with me and Alex Damon, and announce the show happening there. All right, I promised you guys the new show that's coming here to the Outlaw Nation channel, so without further ado, this is premiering this Thursday, this new show, and here's our little video for it real quick. There it is. I promised you a political show, and there it is. That's the political show. Darina Arellano and I will be doing a show called Impolite Truths, every other Thursday, we will break down, we will educate, illuminate, and entertain you about what's going on in the world of politics locally, nationally, and globally in a fun, humanistic way. We're not there to be, bashing people. We're there to show you what's going on both sides as we ramp up into an election process so you can be more informed before making your decisions. If for any of you that follow us on social media, Dorina and I are very active politically and talking about things that are going on. So I knew I needed a forum to do that with, and Dorina was very kind to come aboard. I can't wait for y'all to enjoy that this Thursday. Impolite Truths on the Outlaw Nation channel, me and Dorina Arellano doing our thing as two Latinos up in this piece. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Me and the Bad Bruja, the Outlaw and the Bad Bruja going at it. So I don't know. Maybe I'll break the channel, Alex, or set it on fire with us going at it. But it's going to be a lot of fun to be a part of it as well. And another thing, and I'm really proud about this, the Outlaw Nation channel is about a diversity of opinions, diversity of shows, and also diversity of hosts. And to be hosting a show with a fellow Latinx member, I'm excited to do that as well. I have Alex of Thai descent. I've got Jay and Winston on Mondays, two black gentlemen doing the sports show with me. I like to keep this all diverse. Laura Kelly coming on as a huge Star Wars fan, a female Star Wars fan. The channel is about diversity, and that's important to me. And I'm very, very humbled and blessed that so many talented people want to come be a part of the Outlaw Nation and do shows on this channel. So including present company Alex Shashek as well. So look for that this Thursday. Impolite Truths, me and Dorina. And I tell you, there's going to be Latin fire and Latin fun on that show for sure. So there you go. So what you asked me about earlier, this gentleman here, oh, I missed it. Sorry, I lost your super chat, but I'm going to read it. That was Wayne Edwards. He said, I would love to hear your thoughts about the Axios interview with President Trump. It was eye-opening to say the least. We will definitely be talking about that interview on Impolite Truths this Thursday, Wayne. So I'll let you know about that. Also, Big Chuck or Alex, what are your thoughts? Is it crazy? We're going to blow this place up? What do you think the deal is?
I definitely think it's going to be fun. It's going to be pretty on point. I do love more representation. It's always needed, especially, for people of color, obviously, I'm so excited for you guys to really kind of host it. It sounds like an awesome job. It's going to be so much fun. Are you guys going to, and I know since you guys be talking about a whole bunch of stuff, are you guys, do you mind me asking going into it, are you guys on different ends of the political sphere? Or
I think I'm a little more middle of the road or conservative than Dorina is. So we're going to be able to argue these points as well. We're going to encourage people with different points of views to come on the show. The patrons, only the Outlaw Nation patrons will be able to come on live near the end of the show and ask questions. It will be a live show Thursday nights at 6:00. And we want people from different political points of view, different parts of the spectrum to chime in and give us their thoughts. We're going to try to get guests on who don't agree with Dorina and I so we can have more well-rounded discussions. That's the approach there. I think both of us don't want to lean one side or the other. We want to present the fallacies happening on both sides, or the three sides, if you look at the independent side as well, of the political spectrum. So we want to make you informed, and no one gets to get away with it at all. Everyone is going to get called out. They can get called out. It's a great question you ask, Alex, because yesterday Doreen and I kind of hashed it out that we shouldn't play favorites. So we're going to work really hard not to play favorites and to really kind of showcase what's going on both sides of the political spectrum and on the independent side as well. So, yeah.
Well, it's, when talking about politics, obviously, it's, especially one shows like that, it makes me really excited just because I love watching, the news and everything. Yeah. I try to watch from different channels just because I'm not going to watch from a lot of different sources. And obviously, if you're doing research on a source, you don't look at just 2 or 3 articles. Right. You try to look at 5, maybe 10, and maybe there's some contradictions or something like that. And let's face it, there's always things where people are like, actually retract, that information. Things like that happen so often.
Yes, they do.
I mean, you just gotta, there's a lot of things, obviously, and being in LA, it's a very you're going to get a very specific group, and so you have to actively, diversify for sure.
Yeah, and that's the point. I mean, I grew up in Virginia, Southern Virginia, Northern Virginia area, so I'm very well aware of the conservative point of view. It's something I was surrounded with my entire life. Dorina is an anchor baby. She was born in America, and her parents immediately drove back over the border. So she has a unique perspective on things as well. So there's a lot about the American experience that both of us have come to from different approaches, different points of views. And I think it'll make for interesting and engaging discussion. And I like the fact that both of us are open to hear from people who don't agree with us, from people who don't. And we want to hear from people, but we don't want people to come on and bluster and act the fool. We want people to come on who really want to have conversations. We don't have to agree by the end of the conversation. It's more about presenting points of views and then letting the listener or the viewer make up their own mind. That's kind of our approach to it as well. So
that should always also be the active effort as well. That understanding, that open conversation. So, as long as that's what's going forward, I'm pretty psyched,
Thanks. We'll see. It's a Thursday, 6 p.m. live on the Outlaw Nation channel. First episode of Impolite Truths. Look for that real soon. Right here, Big Chuck 420 says, Arkansas here. Tenet and Bill and Ted 3 open here at the beginning of September. ATM tickets are $5 as well. Showing Bill and Ted 3 at movie night in my front yard on September 5th. Much love. Whoop, whoop. Yeah, Big Chuck. I guess they're showing in the theaters. Is that what he's saying?
Oh, well, so they're showing it in some theaters.
Yeah,
but
right.
You can also pay like so much money for it to watch it at home, like VOD as well. So they have like both options.
Yeah, I like that idea. Yeah, show it on because it's going to be on video on demand and what have you. We have another one that rolled through here from Eric Stevenson. Said, looking forward to the new politics show, John, and great to get Dorina in the Outlaw Nation. Oh, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy, but she came aboard, and we're both looking forward to it. And she had her own, how can I say this, requirements to be a part of the show, to be part of the nation, and I had to accept those kinds of things, and I respected it because I want her point of view on this channel, and we both thoroughly respect each other, and we're looking forward to having a little fun with this. Jay Scott at Friel shot in a Streamlabs. He said, Sophie's choice, Jim Carrey or Adam Sandler. Both are celebrated performers who cut the teeth in slapstick comedies, but have been known to turn out riveting dramatic performances. Maybe it's just me, but I'm having a tough time with this one, skewing towards Jim Carrey. Alex, Jim Carrey or Adam Sandler? What are your thoughts on that?
Man, it's only a Tuesday. Why are you whipping out these questions? You know what? You answered this one.
Really? All right. I have to go Jim Carrey. I rarely put on an Adam Sandler movie, not because I don't like Adam. It's just I just don't feel connected to his things the way I do with Jim. Now, the Jim comedies I put on are more of the human comedies, like Liar Liar. Though I don't really put on Ace Ventura much. That's more of a goofy comedy. But I like Me, Myself, and Irene, as goofy as it is, it's also about a guy trying to discover his inner power, his inner self-belief. And so I like that with some of his movies. Then you go into Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I will take his performance. I think him in that movie and Adam Sandler in Punch Drunk Love is pretty much equal. But then you get to Truman Show, and I'll take Truman Show over Reign Over Me. So for me, I lean more towards Jim Carrey, but I totally would understand if people feel more affinity for Adam Sandler. Yeah, he was great in Sonic as well. He's still doing his thing. Should we come back to you?
Okay, so that's a hard one. Okay, so honestly, I think I want to go with Sandler, to be honest.
Okay.
I know that's a hot take. Let me explain. Okay, so please. I love Jim Carrey. He's one of my favorite actors of all time. He's such a cool guy. I really love him. I don't like his views on vaccines, but that's another conversation.
That's fair. That's fair.
But he has his contribution to physical comedy is amazing.
Right.
Now, the thing is, I personally go back to some Adam Sandler comedies. I go back to Happy Gilmore. I go back to, honestly, it's like Airheads. I watched that a little bit. I can't help it, but I love 50 First Dates.
That's a great film. I love that.
Really great. People can hate it, but I really enjoyed Click. Thing is, I also think he's a real gravitas when it comes to dramas. I feel like a lot of the great actors are really solid when it comes. They're solid comedic actors. You know, Bill Hader is another example. I mean, if we're going to be looking at funny people, or Uncut Gems, Punch Drunk. I think he's also, I think not only does he create more movies, but I actually go back and watch his dramas significantly more.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's
fair.
Yeah.
Okay. Shout out to Dustin K, who apparently doesn't watch the show. Alex gave her plugs first, Dustin. Try to pay attention to the whole show before you comment, so you can know that I totally respect Alex and what she's got going on, and try to give her a platform to promote all of that stuff here on this channel. So please, Dustin, watch the whole damn show.
Yeah, it's just like, I was just on right before. I also just want to clarify, it's just like personal preference, you know, different types of comedy. But with Jim Carrey, he's amazing in every single way. It just comes to what do I rewatch more personally. And I'm not a big fan of like Ace Ventura, and stuff. And I really don't like Dumb and Dumber. That would be really uncomfortable. It's not all it's like. It's just the movie, even when I was little, it never made me comfortable. It's just like, I find it very unsettling physically. So physically
unsettling is what you're saying.
Yeah, it always really creeped me out. Like it like actively made me uncomfortable. It's like Pee-wee.
Yes, I respect it. All right. All right, we got a few minutes left here. We had a crap ton of comments and a crap ton to talk about. We were going to talk about we'd be remiss not to mention this though, and that's Ellen DeGeneres. This is starting to happen. It's starting to pick up steam now with this situation. A ex-producer of Ellen's has come out and spoken about the stuff that her experience being on the show. The ex-producer's name is Hedda Muscat. She joined the Ellen DeGeneres Show in 2003. I can't believe the show's been around that long. My God. When it was still in development, she told The Wrap in a story published on yesterday that she noticed, quote, a culture of fear from the very beginning. She said, I'd never seen this before. And she's a daytime Emmy Award winner. She had previously worked on the Howie Mandel Show and the Martin Short Show. She said, I'd never been around a toxic host. She claimed that executive producer Ed Glavin also contributed to the negativity in the office, recalling one incident where he allegedly screamed at a crew member during a staff meeting. He just went off on them. She said his whole face turned red. We were stunned. She said she remembers waiting for Ellen to say something to Glavin, but Ellen allegedly just giggled. She crossed her legs up on the chair and she said, well, I guess every production needs their dog. And from then we knew, she said, Ed was going to be the barking dog, her dog. You could just see everybody's faces go stiff. We're professionals. We're adults. We don't need a dog to get us to do our jobs. She was the only one giggling, and she was on there for 12 months until she was let go, saying they had to move the show into a different direction. And of course, Ellen's been suffering a lot. Well, not suffering, but suffering the barbs a lot over the last few weeks with accusations of a toxic work environment, producers who were sexually assaulting employees or people who've come there. So a lot of unfortunate situations surrounding Ellen DeGeneres. I will say, as a personal note, in my opinion, my one of my ex-girlfriends worked for her for about 6 months, I think, as a temp writer. And she said, I remember this like it was yesterday. She texted me one day while she was working on the job, and she said, I need to call you, or I need to text you so you can talk me through this situation. I said, what just happened? She said, I was working at the place. I went in there to pitch jokes to the head writer. I pitched 3 jokes. This is a female writer pitching 3 jokes to a head male writer. And apparently he took his chewed up chewing gum that he had been chewing, and after she was done pitching her jokes, he spat it in her face. Literally his chewed gum in her face. She went right back to her desk. She said she was trembling because she was shocked at the experience, went over to her desk, was trembling. And when coworkers came over to speak to her and she told them what happened, they said, yeah, that's his way of saying he approves your jokes. She texted me and she said, because I know if this had been you, you'd have put him through a wall. And I said, yeah, I would have. Do you want me to drive down there and do that? And she said, no. I just needed to vent about it, but this is what happened. So that's my very small experience with someone who worked on that Ellen show. So I personally am absolutely glad that this is all coming out, because if we're going to spill the tea, we don't have to only spill the tea on conservative people or people whose political beliefs you don't agree with. You better spill the tea on everybody, and including the dancing, laughing, happy fool that you see. No. You got to spill the tea on everything. That's my point. So
absolutely. Sorry, my cat just decided to start rubbing up against me. She wanted a little attention, a little love today.
Got some more to say about Tom Cruise, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, she was. No, that's the other cat. Oh, there she goes. She's gonna be. I'm gonna switch the camera over a little bit.
Oh my God! Oh,
yeah, there she is. Okay, so you're probably gonna get a little tail.
That's all right. What's the name?
For a hot minute. Her name is Juno.
Oh, Juno.
Yeah, there you go, girl. What up?
Oh, so cute. What's up, Juno? Hi.
Little cutie. Yeah, she's nuzzling the little my little microphone now. Yeah, so when it comes to Ellen, I do think it, I mean, like, there have been rumors about her in particular. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna move. I don't want her to drink my water. But yeah, there have been rumors around her and her work environment for years.
Yeah.
And I do think that just going back to the PR thing, she has crafted a very good image.
Yes, she has.
It's very frustrating. Has really come this far. Yeah. Honestly, I am very glad that things are really coming to light, and I'm hoping things are definitely going to change for the better, and hope for maybe there's going to be something better. Maybe she apologizes, and maybe she gets a whole new staff, and it's a whole thing. I don't know. Yeah. It's just kind of it's a really weird situation. And not to mention, I can't imagine what, like you said, your ex partner, was, in that being a situation. I would be,
yeah. What would you? Can you imagine that happening in 2020? Can you imagine that? A male head writer of a show, you're a female writer. You're not even a full-time. You're there to attempt to help them.
You don't even need to be a female in order to empathize. Seriously, girl.
That's fair. Absolutely.
Fair. It can be any person. Sure. It just happens to be a female. Yeah. But it is just like very disgusting behavior, and it's such a weird power play. Behavior like that it's not about it is not about what they think is actually funny or not. It's all about having this idea that I have power over you, and I'm getting a reaction. Yeah. Okay, cat, seriously.
I mean, one of the reasons that I don't
like this, just like hanging out in front of me. I'm just gonna be.
No worries.
It's the new cat show, guys. Ew. It's the cat show.
Hi, Juno. One of the reasons why I haven't run back to try to get a job at an outlet is because I want the freedom to speak the truth to power about what's going on in the world, and not just politically, but also what goes on in this town. And too many people whose livelihoods depend on getting that actor, or getting that director, or getting that producer. Too many of them kiss that ass instead of calling that ass out to get things happen, to get attention, or to push their brand, or to get clicks or views, or get those guests. And that was the pervasive nature at the former outlet I was on for the last 6 to 8 months, and it drove me insane, because at that point you're no longer an objective outlet. What you are is Fox News for the studios, and essentially, and I don't want to be that. And so I bristled at that. And so my outlet, step by step, piece by piece, I'm building it out so that it has its own voice, and it's a voice that isn't compromised by anyone or anything. And I don't know how long that can last, but I want to keep it that way, because I think you got to call everything out to be fair. It isn't just call out whatever's politically convenient for your point of view at the time.
It's just also kind of ridiculous. I'm not doing this on purpose, guys.
I love it.
It's not me. I'm so sorry.
It's the greatest thing ever.
It's not me.
Anyway, well, let's.
It's just.
Yeah, go ahead.
She's in the mood. Sure, she's like, I want attention. I'm going to get attention whether you like it or not. I don't care if you're on camera. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. Please, on everyone in the chat, I apologize. I am kind of also, I don't want to say scared for everyone involved, because I can't begin to put myself in their shoes.
Right.
But just like a lot of these big Hollywood entertainers and behind the scenes people, directors and things like that, that there's a real history of blacklisting, not only actors and directors and everything, but there's a history of blacklisting cameramen and producers, script writers, things like that. And so I would hate it if, because her and her environment, it's not the only talk show, let alone just show in general or production setting where it's very incredibly toxic. That there's a lot of other environments where it's very similar, if not identical, and so I really hope this doesn't really hurt a lot of the people that are involved.
Right.
Right. Yeah. I don't want them to not get jobs because they decided to speak up against someone that's incredibly toxic.
That's a fair point. Fair point, Alex. Certainly, there is always a vindication, whether spoken or unspoken, when you speak out, no matter what side of the political fence you are. Trust me, whistleblowing is not an easy thing. Outlaw for President donated. Thank you, Outlaw for President. Thoughts on It's Complicated? Wife and I love the movie. Alec Baldwin, Meryl Streep, John Krasinski, and Steve Martin are perfect. Yeah, I liked It's Complicated. It was actually a very sweet film about relationships at that age and what can happen and the things you have to negotiate about between needs and wants. And I liked it. I thought they all did a fantastic job. Do you remember that movie?
Dude, I love that movie.
There you go.
Oh, it's really, I think it's not to mention there's very few movies that really highlight relationships between, highlight older relationships, established relationships. Sure. Sometimes we get movies about divorce and things like that. But I love movies where they kind of go into, what makes a relationship work at that ripe old age. Because to me, they're just amazing. I don't really associate them with like a specific number, if that makes sense. But it's a really great movie overall. Steve Martin, to me, oh my gosh, I fell in love with Steve Martin in that movie. And not to mention, I hope that they ended up together. I really do. At the very end, it's meant to be like you're not entirely sure, but I have like cat hair now all over me. I love it. It keeps flying everywhere now because she decided she wanted to hang out. But yeah, it's a great movie overall. I think is that one scripted or directed by Nora Ephron? I
think it's directed by Nora Ephron for sure.
It's so obvious that it's directed by Nora Ephron.
Yeah, right. Let me see.
I can't remember what it's called, but it's when you kind of almost sell that world, essentially, where everything is so white. Everyone's wearing like white turtlenecks, white clothes, super upper middle class environment.
Never mind. It was not her at all. Is it Nancy Myers? Is it
Nancy Myers? Oh, I get Nora Ephron and Nancy Myers mixed up all the time.
That's fair. Yeah, it's Nancy Myers. She wrote and directed it. Yeah,
Dang.
Nancy Myers. Okay. All right.
Gosh,
it's all right. That happens. All right. So let's burn through these because I don't want to cross into the SEN live time. Andrew G donated some. Thank you, Andrew G. I don't really know what to say to the toxic environment stuff. That's not good. But if you're going to work for a former stand-up comedian, you got to be ready to maybe hear some inappropriate shit you won't like to a degree. Wouldn't you say? Yes and no. Yeah. But if you're not working for someone who's doing a show at midnight or 1 a.m., that's when you might hear some inappropriate stuff. What you are working for is a person who's doing a daytime talk show. So a daytime talk show is not really going to do edgy, blue, inappropriate, racist, misogynistic stuff. So that's the environment you're walking into. But I just think this is all about and look, I know we like to kiss the butt of writers, but writers sometimes can be the most difficult people to work for who don't like to go and listen to their therapists. They like to go to therapy, but not necessarily put the tools in motion in dealing with other people. Certainly, I've seen that firsthand in this business over the last few years. And it's just the thing that you have to deal with sometimes, but that needs to be called out. It needs to get called out. All right. So Cinema Gorilla, I was an unpaid intern at Warner Brothers for 5 years, and I've been outspoken about Joss Whedon, Ellen, Eastwood, all these white supremacists on the lot, but no one listens to an intern, especially me, a brown Latino student. I have so much tea I want to spill. Well, yeah, go ahead and spill it on Twitter, man. Do your thing. That's what I would say. What do you say there, Alex?
Go for it. I don't live in Hollywood. I don't live in LA, obviously, in particular. So I honestly, I don't know what I would do in that situation. Honestly, it's it's a very difficult situation to be in. You just have to be really careful about when if you're gonna say something, if you're gonna talk about your experiences like that, go for it. You have to be very strategic in the way you word it, because they're gonna dissect. They would dissect every single syllable. So you just got to be careful. That's all.
Alan Smithy says Conan O'Brien pretends to be a toxic boss for laughs. I think it's funny because he's making himself look bad and it's just a joke. Yeah, I'd rather have a joke than the real thing. That's for sure.
Is it true what they say about Corbin as well?
James Corden?
Yeah. I've heard some iffy things about him.
I personally don't know. All I can tell you is my ex-girlfriend who worked for Ellen, she now works for James Corden, and I have never heard any story from her about him. So I don't know, but there are rumors. I just have no personal knowledge of it myself. Let's see. Jim Sandlin sent in. He said, here's a donation for Juno the cat. Ryan Chandler donated. He said, hey, Alex and Rocha. Hope you keep the morning show going. Great way to start the day. And Alex is right. Dumb and Dumber is no good. Kingpin with Woody Harrelson and Bill Murray is where it's at. Thanks again. Do you like Kingpin there, Alex?
Did we just become best friends? Oh my gosh, thank you. I've never met anyone that didn't like it all that much like me. Oh my gosh. This is a moment I'm going to write down in my journal about. I've literally never met anyone that had the same opinions about Dumb and Dumber as I did. This is a moment, guys.
There you go, Ryan Chandler. You got a friend for life. Ben Rayner said, I've never been a big fan of Ellen, always had a weird feeling from her, and now I guess I know why. Well, there you go. All right, Ben, respect. And Cinema Gorilla said, Outlaw, you and Shashek and Avalon and Arellano are brown power representation. Keep saying what needs to be said. It truly matters. There will always be vindication. Well, there you go. All right. There you go, Alex.
Right. Okay, there you go. I do want to let y'all know that about Dumb and Dumber. I am not saying you can't enjoy it. You totally can.
Of course.
It's a style of comedy. It's just not to my taste, and it really bugs me. Yeah. Even when I was like 6 years old, it just really made me uncomfortable. Also, it's really creepy as well. So yeah, super creepy movie.
There you go. All right. Well, let's wrap up because I know SEN Live starting up in about 7 or 8 minutes. Thank you all so much for joining us here as we embark on new days, 4 mornings with the Outlaw. Thank you all so much for the great super chats and Streamlabs. That's how we're going to keep the show going. You got to hit a certain level for us to make it worth it to do it every morning or every Tuesday and Thursday morning. So thank you so much for doing it. Much love to my co-host Alex Shashek as well for riding shotgun with me. Alex, anything you want to plug again before we wrap up here?
Just right here, you can hear me just talk about all the movies that I'm watching right now. Catch me up on all shows stuff about Cinema Bias and, Schmobates. I'm going to be doing tomorrow. So it's going to be a real fun time. So please give us a holler. I also post a lot of pictures of my cats, Juno and Atlas, the vocal one and the not so vocal one. So, yeah.
Respect. And you can follow me at The Rocha Says on Twitter and on Instagram. Don't forget to subscribe also to the channel down below and do us a favor. The way to grow the audience, the way to grow the channel, the way to grow people's interest in this particular show is for you to like and share the show on your social media. Your friends will see it, your family will see it, and they'll say, well, what's this show? And they might take a chance and become fans of this show because you posting it means you approve of the show, you like the show, and maybe your point of view, your opinion carries weight with those people, and they come aboard the Outlaw Nation train, or at least they come aboard the Mornings with the Outlaw train with me and Alex. So please do that as well. That's how you can help the show, even if you can't contribute, even if you can't be part of the Patreon. That's a small way that you can help the show get bigger. And we can't thank you enough for doing that. And please, if you want to be a part of my Patreon, right above me there, www.patreon.com/John Rocha. Had some great study sessions with the patrons of the last 3 weeks, multiple 2-hour study sessions with them. None of those questions were asked in the Schmodown, but it was great to stay sharp. And if I'm going to walk into this tournament, I'm going to need even more patrons to be helping me get ready so they can take ownership of any victory I have going through the tournament if I decide to go through the tournament. So come be a part of that. We got four shows that we dropped on there, and the patrons will get first dibs to ask questions on the new show, Impolite Truths, with me and Dorina Arellano. That's dropping Thursday night. There's the logo right there. Impolite Truths one more time, debuting this Thursday night, 6 p.m. PT live on the Outlaw Nation channel. Going to have a lot of fun discussing all of that. So thank you all so much for joining us here. Have some fun with the rest of your Tuesday, and we will talk to you next time on another brand new episode of Mornings with the Outlaw. Take care until then.